teenager and it's the late 1940s. You're sick to death of the constant stream of big band and swing that comes out of the radio and dominates popular culture. Fortunately for you, you live in an exciting time, and a respite is around the corner, and its name is rock and roll. Rock and roll did not begin with Elvis Presley, nor did it end with the Woodstock Music Festival in New York. Its origins, debated by some, are traced by the Oxford English Encyclopedia of American History to 1947 Los Angeles, and an artist named Roy Brown and a song called Good Rockin' Tonight, which is the first rock song to be released under that genre title. This single song would give birth to Elvis Presley, Chuck Berry, and Jerry Lee Lewis, giving rise to a cultural phenomenon. Rock and roll's early years were heavily bluegrass-inspired rockabilly tunes that sounded more country than what we would think of today as rock and roll. TV shows such as The Ed Sullivan Show and contemporary variety shows highlighted performers, but it was Dick Clark's American Bandstand that would highlight solely rock music and nothing else. This was the first time in history where you had a program dedicated solely to rock music, and kids couldn't get enough of it. This would spawn shows such as Shindig, Hullabaloo, and Shebang, along with its British contemporary Top of the Pops, creating a worldwide craze. And it would also be television that would give birth to the British invasion of America when the Beatles and the Dave Clark Five made their appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show in 1964. The mid-60s saw a pop culture as counterculture phenomenon known as psychedelia that started to come through in the music. Groups like the Beatles would adopt this with their entire album, Revolver. And of course, you have groups that really took things a step further, like Incense and Peppermints by the Strawberry Alarm Clock, whose title, image, and lyrics just scream Opium Den, Far East, which was what they were going for at the time. And this was the craze for the next several years. A band that was synonymous with psychedelic rock, the Yardbirds, and their then lead guitarist, Jimmy Page, would give rise to a supergroup that would dominate the next decade and evolutionary period of rock, the 1970s. Jimmy Page, his art college friend, Robert Plant, John Paul Jones, and drummer John Bonham, all friends of Plant's, would make up this group. The title, of course, given by a drunken Who drummer, Keith Moon, was actually a misspelling of lead, which was actually much more cool move than actually spelling it properly. Their seminal works, Led Zeppelin 4, Led Zeppelin 2, especially Led Zeppelin 4 with its titled track, Stairway to Heaven, which would grow to ubiquity. I'm serious. You couldn't listen to an hour of Top 40 radio without hearing that song at least once or twice. This reminds me of a pop culture reference from the Wayne's World movie, where Wayne was trying out his dream guitar in a music store, and the clerk comes over, interrupts him, and points to a sign that says, "Absolutely no Stairway to Heaven," if that gives you an idea of how much it was played and how easy it became to lampoon the ubiquity of this song. Led Zeppelin was poised to dominate the 1980s as well. Unfortunately, this would not come to pass when drummer John Bonham was found dead in his apartment from apparent alcohol poisoning. He was just 32 at the time. In the words of Robert Plant, we couldn't go on without Bonzo behind the rostrums, thus ending the most exciting period in rock history. However, rock did not die. It lives on, inspiring, and even subsequent generations copying this music form that would grow to define half a century of modern music.